Now, I would like to invite all of our participants to the last panel of the second day of our European Blockchain Week. The panel on the topic of blockchain and open data for mobility will be moderated by Mr. Milan Lazarevic from Technology Park Ljubljana. And with this, I would like to welcome Mr. Lazarevic to the floor, as well as two speakers who are joining us in person today here at the Slovenian Digital Center.
As they said, my name is Milan Lazarevic. I come from Technology Park Ljubljana, and I'll be presenting this panel on blockchain and open data for mobility and climate changes. The panel will be joined by speakers. I would like to apologize to anyone whose name I get wrong, but as I can see, two of you are with me and the others will be joining us online. First, I would like to introduce you all, and then we will have 2 to 5 minutes presentations of the speakers where you can tell us a bit about yourself, your company, projects, activities, and the technologies you use. I would like to start with Jean-François Cassé. Is this correct?
Yes, nearly. Jean-François Cazès. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So indeed, I'm Jean-François Cazès. So I'm a director here in Amadeus SAS from Sophie Antipolis, near Nice, or near Antibes, for the ones knowing the south of France. We are part of the group Amadeus, as you know, which is a world leader in travel, in reservations, and manages one of the biggest transactional platforms in Europe, where we manage more or less a big chunk of the whole reservations you can do with airplanes, trains, and so on, distributing all these air tickets. So that's for me for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to Gadi Ben Moshe. Is this correct? Gadi Ben Moshe?
Yes, it is.
Hey.
Hi, how are you? Fine. So my name is Gadi Ben Moshe. I am the general manager of Mar Innovators. We are a company that give consulting services mainly in the maritime supply chain.
Thank you. Next, I would like to ask Bruno Kinyaga from Tanzania to tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Bruno Kinyaga. I'm from Tanzania. I'm the CEO and founder of a company known B&F Global. We are specialized in providing consulting services, but also the technical know-how on the area of infrastructure development. We are focused mainly on the transportation infrastructure, but also other infrastructure like energy, water, and oil and gas infrastructures. But also we are specialized in conducting capacity building programs here in Tanzania and the other countries in Africa and at large. Actually, we are now inventing to use the HashNet technology as we are in the discussion of developing blockchain technologies in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to ask Harry Behrens.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Harry. I used to be, until quite recently, the head of the Daimler Mobility Blockchain Factory. We developed a platform called the Daimler Mobility Blockchain Platform, which is focused on mobility, urban mobility, plus a very interesting use case, which bridges and combines power and mobility, which happens to be also the name of our company, in the sense that you can use electric vehicles to balance spikes and flexibility when you're generating renewable energy. From a technical level, so we bought the software out of Daimler. It's now ours. We incubated it through Outlier Ventures. We are self-funded. We are basically now addressing the urban mobility market and the energy market. The technologies we use are twofold, not only blockchain, but also something which is becoming more and more relevant as you conduct business transactions, which is the whole protocol stack of decentralized identifiers digital identities and related.
Shajnovic from Iskra.
Hello, my name is Boris Shajnovic. Iskra from Slovenia. Taking care for projects that are related to innovation and also for implementing of the new technology at Iskra. I'm also head of the consortium in Slovenia that is, let's say, the biggest project for implementing the solution of smart city, which also contain the blockchain technologies and also various technologies that could be, let's say, used in the future for better living in our cities and in our communities.
Thank you. And the last one is Martin Vugrin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Martin. I'm a project manager and product manager at a tech company, Amazing, taking care of our energy department. So we developed platforms for investments, especially in energy infrastructure. And we are currently also working on supporting infrastructure for establishing energy communities based on blockchain. Also I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers for inviting me here, and it's been really great to listen to all the different representatives of government, industry, startups, and start this important discussion on blockchain, AI, and mobility. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a fine group here, as you can see, and how will blockchain technologies, artificial intelligence, and other upcoming technologies affect mobility, climate change, and society? What will your cities, jobs, and society look like in the future? Jean-Francois.
Yes, thank you. So the question is rather large, and obviously groups, all of us, I'm sure. By the way, yes, I take this opportunity as well to thank Nena Dukuzov and the Ministry of Economic Development of Technology of Slovenia for the invitation, and all of the other panelists, because I think it's very interesting. So mobility is requiring, as you know, more than everything, a lot of going through different providers, different companies. Being a person, and sorry for the equivalency, but you can be a person, you can be a luggage, you can be a lot of things. But what you find in mobility is that persons or things go through different entities, providers, and all of this needs to be checked. You need to resolve problems and so on. Blockchain, therefore, presents itself a big advantage to be able to provide the transparency and to provide the possibility to check what's going on during any mobility action. You can find this as well with energy. You can find all this as well with CO2, with any resource. So that's not new, and all these panelists will tell you the same thing. So what all the companies we are in are trying to do this is how to harness how to harness this technology to provide a better move for the mobility and a better world from the climate change point of view. The thing which is, for example, I give an example just to open the debate, as you asked me to give an example. If you, in Amadeus, for example, we had a project on luggage. A lot of us have lost a luggage that's in an airport, and it's really painful. And the problem is nobody can tell you who is responsible or what has been the entity losing your luggage. Is it the ground handler? Is it the airline? Is it the airport? And so on. So, for example, you can imagine the possibility of following a luggage thanks to the blockchain technology and being able to trace and to know what was the last gate, the last entity that dealt with it, and to have better chances to find it. So it's just of course an example of what can be done, and I prefer now to listen to the other panelists, because I'm sure we will all have this kind of interesting use cases.
Thank you very much. I would like the same question for Gary. What will your cities, jobs, and societies look like in future, considering all technology?
I would like to give a number of examples again from my field, that it's a maritime supply chain. That you have to understand that it's 90% of the trade, world trade, is going through the seas. So the impact of efficiency in the maritime supply chain can affect a lot. Not only, we're talking about emissions, but not only with that, because a lot of the paperwork that is today in this maritime supply chain, it's also makes a lot of pollution by the carriers that takes one place to another the documents needed for the release of cargo. And I can give an example of a great company that we have in Israel. It's called the Way BL, that it's transforming the way that the bill of lading of the maritime supply chain is going, and it's based on the blockchain. And with that, they eliminated the need to wait for a paper-based document, and now it is carried by a very secure blockchain system. And they have today a number of ship companies, leading ship companies like MSC, Hapag-Lloyd, Zim, and others to come. And it's changing the way that the maritime supply chain is working today. So this is one example that I can give.
Thank you, Gary, very much. Bruno, what do you think?
Yeah, thank you very much again for inviting me. Of course, I'll talk on the transportation perspective. For what I think, for instance, in our cities, on our growing cities like the Dar es Salaam city, where I'm living and where I'm doing a lot of my activities, I think the invention of these innovative and new technologies could much help to make our cities more smarter. For instance, on issues of mobility of people from one place to another place, it's still a challenge. For example, here in our cities, we're still using the paper ticketing, for example, in public transportation, which I think it has impact also on issue of environment. At the end of the day, it will affect it in terms of climate change. So what I think the invention of these new technologies like the blockchain technologies and other artificial intelligence technologies could really help to transform the mobility, the situation, the current situation and the coming situation in terms of mobility on the area of transportation. But not only on the area of transportation, even in other use of other kind of infrastructure, I think these new technologies could really make our cities more smarter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harry. Bruno. Harry, what is your take on this?
Well, so for me, the main benefit of these technologies are twofold. They are highly secure, so they somehow manage to settle the trust question, and they're highly decentralized. And I'd like to propose or describe a very powerful use case, which really covers also this panel in the sense climate change and mobility. And for that, I hope you allow me to quote, not from myself, but from the mission statement of a very innovative company in Europe. They're called the Elia Group. They're a power company. And they have basically described where they see the sectors of energy, renewable energies, and mobility going. And they have then taken the step of using decentralized technologies to address precisely that issue. And the statement is, e-mobility is the fastest and cheapest lever for abating climate change in the coming decade. Making the EU the world's first climate neutral economy will require more than just an energy transition. To cut CO2 emissions by 2050, many sectors will need to make far-reaching changes. Two sectors that play a key role in society have the leverage needed to do this: power and mobility. And from that, then they proceed, and that's a project we're working with them. They proceed to, okay, in order to be able to do that, part of what you need is, because both of these markets are getting very, very decentralized, you need to be able to account for whatever has been done, whatever has been delivered, and you need to basically have the smart metering, have the smart charging, and have the fully accountable delivery of green energy, etc., etc. And as you then try to build this, you will find that decentralized technologies, and not only blockchain, very much also decentralized identifiers, play a very powerful role, because that's the only way you can automate transactions where things are getting micro-fragmented to the levels of billions, tens of billions of devices, but you still need to be able to ensure identity, traceability, and accountability. And only decentralized identifiers and the blockchain distributed ledger are currently capable of addressing that challenge.
My vision and the company that I represent is that all this new technology will provide us the solutions that will be actually it will be much better in the point of to know what is happening in every situation on the road, on the traffic, so we could measure everything what is happening in the real time. Everything will be more transparent, and already is, and this provides us the better view for tomorrow, and it gives us the picture of what is actually happening now in this moment, so we could regulate the motorways, that we could regulate the city. And by regulate the cities for the real-time situation, not for the intervals that we know, on semaphore, for example, we could reduce carbon dioxide in air for very, very, very large sums. And also what will bring that this is the gate to the new business opportunities, because such a technology also provides the, let's say, pool for people that will be smart enough to take the advantage of this data that will be there for them to provide new solutions that we now even don't even think about it. And I believe that future will be at least more adventurous as it is now, and it will be more it will be better position for it will be better for people that have ideas. And some ideas of such are already implemented or are implementing. For example, in Maribor, what we do the micro servicing that is never been done before in Slovenia in the light of the traffic. So we know what is happening where with super processing from data from the signals. We know where everything is happening. We have the microcontroller that is doing the whole work for the people that are trying to be as much better for the people that they serve. And on the other hand, we are raising the trust of the people that this new technology is actually built for them, that their life will be better and their life will be easier in city or somewhere else. As well as not only in the cities, because my company works also in desert. We provide new technology also in desert, because railway have to go somewhere. And if this road is much more transparent as it is now, it will never happen that some rail will have some kind of problem that today it could have. And this is why I think that future will be much better for the people that are using the public transport and people that are living on this earth, because by all this we will get a picture what we have to do to reduce our negative effect on the climate.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. Martin, what do you think?
Well, I think that one of the most powerful things about the blockchain is that it's a very powerful means of accounting. And in the future, I feel like, okay, in mobility, we've seen this trend going towards electric vehicles, e-mobility, also a lot of solutions for railways, other types of transport. And at Amazing, we thought about, okay, how can we use this innate property of blockchain to make it easier for investors to invest into energy infrastructure? Because we believe that in the future, sharing economy is going to become much stronger than it is now even. And I feel like what blockchain allows is for investors to have users of energy infrastructure, such as, for example, electric chargers in residential buildings. And then residents of those buildings can go charge their cars. And blockchain will allow for a very trustful and very transparent, simple accounting of those energy transactions. So what we would like to do is we would like to make it as simple as possible for investors to invest into solutions in mobility, for example, chargers, also for other types of electronic or like energy infrastructure, like solar power plants, storage units, and so on. And we're working hard on this, right? And we've developed a platform which actually allows to do this. And I believe this will serve a big purpose, especially as we move towards this sharing economy, enabling investments into infrastructure for mobility, also broader, right? Not just in residential building, also in cities, where we, of course, as Harry mentioned, we need to be we need to tie this to digital identity of the individual. This is so far doable if we are restricted to a certain geographic area, if we have repeat users. If we don't have repeat users, there still need to be some work done to enable that.
Thank you. With all this new and innovative technology, of course, there are also pitfalls and certain abuses possible. But what do we need to pay special attention to? Jean-François, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so first of all, indeed, it's plenty of this is plenty of opportunities, but we see two main challenges. The first one, indeed, blockchain is using actually a lot of energy. And the fact is the massive use of blockchain at one stage will cause a problem. Because I think you can imagine quickly that is something that is actually using energy as will be a full country, a full kind of a European country. So I think this is one of the problems, is how scalable this is if it's really used everywhere. I don't have the answer. I'm just taking you where it can be a problem. The other problem is for the same, we all have the qualities of our defaults and the defaults of our quality, as it proves, as it gives a lot of transparency, as it was very well said by Harry, and trust. In the same way, it can cause problems of privacy and how you delete things, because the laws in Europe means that you have to be able to delete privacy concerns, privacy information about people and moves if they require so. So these are the two aspects, and I leave the floor to the other panelists where we see a challenge. Thank you.
What do you think?
Okay, so there's a lot of challenges as in any new technology. But when I talk with my customers, when I consult them in digital transformation and innovation, it's that technology, it's just the driver to getting into receiving a good result. And we're talking here to receiving a better world to live in. And we have to remember that it's not just technology, it's change management. To introduce a new technology, a new solution, is a change management. And again, when I'm talking in the maritime supply chain, that it's a very conservative community. It's first of all, you have to work on that. So this is one thing that I want to say, but there is another thing, and it's a lot of solutions are getting out, and it's great. but you have to work also in interoperability between solutions, because at first, when in new technologies, there's a lot of everybody wants to conquer all, but at the end there will be a number of solutions for everything. So interoperability between the solutions is important, and for that reason, and again, I take this opportunity to thank Nina for inviting and the organizers for inviting me here. It's the standardization activities is very important to promote it, and I participate in a number of activities of standardization in the UNCEF Act and the ISO and World Economic Forum and the International Port Committee, International Port and Harbors Association. It's very important to pay attention to that. So these two examples that I can give.
Thank you very much. Bruno, what do you think we should worry about?
Yeah, hello again. Myself, I think, first of all, we need to look on the area of legal framework. I think that's one of the main basic area when you introduce any kind of technology. You need to see a legal framework which will be used to make sure that that technology is going to be used in a safe way. For instance, I'm talking on the perspective of developing countries, where still we are not much invented in many technologies, but I think the issue first starts on the area of legal framework. But leaving that, I think before implementing all these kind of technologies, we need to really provide education to the community, awareness. They have to know the importance of these technologies, but also what are the risks and what are the benefits of all these kind of technologies. And if you tamper to the technologies, what will be the consequence at the end of the day? So I think those are two areas we can try to look on the legal framework, but also how do we prepare the community to adopt all those kind of technologies. For instance, in Tanzania, we are trying now, and we are in the process with Nena and other colleagues to see how we can develop a platform called Tanzania Blockchain Technology Forum, which will be dealing on educating the community, creating awareness on all these kind of technologies, but also looking on the opportunities of financing all startups which will be engaging on innovation of these new technologies. So those are the kind of areas which I think we need to pay attention from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno. Harry, what's your take on this?
Well, I'm actually not so much worried about the technology. I'm more worried about the reaction to the technology. There has been lately a very strong, emotional almost reaction against anything blockchain related. And in German, you say you pour the baby with the bathwater. And sometimes I have the impression that the regulatory push now on everything from crypto wallet to DeFi to blockchain in general is getting, I really have to use the word aggressive, is getting so aggressive that a large level of innovation will be driven underground because it will not go away. It will simply be driven underground simply because there is still a lack of understanding of what this technology does on the one side. And also, yes, because it is freewheeling, it is anarchistic, it is libertarian. I mean, do look at the Genesis block of Bitcoin, then you understand with what spirit it was written. And that is still imbued in the community. And the regulation that we see coming here lately is, if it is not somehow modulated and moderated, then I worry that those countries that choose that path of very aggressive regulation will lose the technology and will then one day wake up and see that it has been done anyway, that it needs to be used anyway because it is such potent technology, it will come. You couldn't have bottled up the internet even if you had tried, and many countries did. So it will come anyway, and those countries that are now basically exceeding each other in regulating it even tougher than the other one, I believe personally are making a grave mistake, and they are doing quite significant harm to the technological communities that are currently possibly still blooming in those countries. So that's more my worry. I'm not worried about the tech. I'm worried about the reaction to the tech.
Thank you, Harry. Boris, how do you see this situation?
I see, let's say, some challenges from the two sides. From the technology side, I see two problems. One is the lack of electrical energy. Second is that the price of energy could go up. And actually the second one, what I wanted to say, that actually what we are doing here now is changing the technology of some solutions that maybe already exist, but this is even better because it allows us to do some even greater things as such, this current technology. That it could happen, the problem with the resources as we have it now with microchips, for example. And the second thing is, because we are implementing the new solutions and also we are implementing the new technologies, the problem can be also from the how we determined what will we put on the market, because somebody from other panelists said one thing that it really gave me thinking, that it has to be accepted. We are pushing the new technology and also has to be accepted from the people. So we have to also put from not the people, from the users, not only from us that are, let's say, we are experts, we are technology enthusiasts, we would like to do it, but so this technology will become every day for us. It has to give us the main focus to the people, and they have to understand this focus. Otherwise, this could go down even before it even started, and even before we reach all the potential of this technology.
Thank you, Boris. I would like to hear what Martin has to say.
I think for us at least, there's two main challenges. The first main challenge is scalability. So how does one ensure to have a large pool of users of a blockchain solution, especially if this solution is based on Ethereum, some other platform? As it scales, the gas costs go up. Does that make eventually your solution unusable because it's just too expensive to use it? Right? And the second thing is, as I mentioned before, we view blockchain as a great accounting tool because it's just trustful, transparent, everything is stored there. But this can also be a big detriment to the usability because there's potential for misuse. So the issues of cybersecurity, the issues of informational security, how does one ensure that somebody is not monitoring his energy consumption, for example, in our case, and then when a user goes to the holidays, somebody notices, okay, there's been 3 days of non-consumption, that person is likely on holidays, right? And this is maybe a more direct attack, but also on the other hand, if energy companies, if other interested parties get access to this data, there are ethical concerns, right? As we discussed previously today already. Yeah, so some issues. I believe there are solutions if we try, but they definitely need to be addressed.
Thank you, Martin. It seems that you all have a bit different views on this, what to worry about, which is great because I get more perspectives. But it also seems that you are all still optimistic about it. You're just worried, I think, maybe about how much people understand it, how much knowledge is out there, how it is perceived. So maybe this question is great for now. How to prepare certain groups of people for new technologies, such as blockchain in mobility, who have not yet mastered the necessary digital competences. How are we going to tackle that? Jean-François.
Yeah, that's I think it's one of the, I think the panel, I think globally mentioned from one side or the other, the fact of this legal framework, as Bruno put it, that yes, you can think that is needed or not, or as Harry as well mentioned, that you have to be careful to not too much regulate it. But we have to accept that the majority of people are a bit scared about all of this, especially if you start to say that all of this is stored forever in a kind of ledger that never can be erased, and so on and so on. So indeed, there is a lot to do. Is not the domain of my competencies, to be honest. I don't know how this can be done, but at least, and this is the work done here by the Slovenian government, at least the government must get also a specialization. It's becoming more and more difficult to understand and to catch all of this, and you have to have experts capable to understand the complexity that all of this brings, which is far from easy. Sorry, it's just not an easy question. That's for me.
Thank you for that. Gary, how about, what do you think?
Okay, so I also try to avoid this question because one thing that it takes time. First of all, it's not something that we can do it in one day. But what I can say is what to do in the meantime. What happens till people will be comfortable with the blockchain, with the putting up nodes and talking about chain going on. So I think, and that's something that we did in a project that I led for the International Pod Community System Association. It's that understanding that not everybody is familiar with blockchain from day one. You put it in a framework, and in the front you put the familiar things that the people are familiar to, like web pages, and only in the background there is the blockchain. So in this way, you don't need that, my mother-in-law have to know what it's blockchain. That's the way that you give the time to people to get used to that. And this is other solutions, also the solution that I talk about, the WayBL, they are implementing a similar solution. That's my answer.
Thank you. Bruno, how do you think we should tackle this issue of digital competences?
Yeah, actually, as other colleagues here said, it's not a small job to do that, but what I think maybe I could think about what we are doing. As I said before, our company specialized also on providing capacity building programs. And within those capacity building programs we are doing to the community or to professionals, even myself, I didn't have interest for blockchain technologies, but I developed it and I've started to share with other colleagues here in Tanzania. For instance, we have a platform called the Resilient Tanzania Summit, where we usually talk about different topics, including the blockchain issues. So through those platforms, I think it can be easier to be a starting point to have specific groups, which will then help to create awareness and the common competence in the area of blockchain technology. I think that could help in anyhow. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno. Harry, what do you think?
I think there's two parts to this. The one part is if you deal with ultimately customers, clients, and users, and there, as much as you can, take blockchain out of the equation, talk about the security, talk about the decentralized, talk about the easy to use, and just explain what it does good for you. But then there's a more important part, and after all, this is the European Blockchain Week, so there's the whole education part. If you do believe, and I do believe, that blockchain is fundamentally disruptive core technology. It's not just like, any new algorithm that just came along and it'll pass. It's a fundamentally disruptive paradigm, truly the sense of the paradigm. Then you also need to think about education, because you need young people to embrace this. Because if you believe this is a big part of how transactions, how commerce is going to be conducted in the next years and decades, then obviously what you need to do is in order to stay competitive, in order to do your obligation towards the education of your youth, you need to somehow package it and bring it into the educational system so people can embrace it and people can utilize it and therefore become the masters of it rather than becoming the victims of it. So, and both are totally independent of each other, but from a society perspective, you do need both. The one is easy. I mean, most of the people in this panel have been to the management meetings where, of course, nobody understands blockchain except, oh, it eats a lot of energy, oh, it's used for illegal whatever transactions. And then you somehow need to explain that that's not it, or not, that's not only it. What you're trying to do here is actually useful. For that one, take blockchain out of the equation. Just don't use the word blockchain in the first place. But then also think about education. And that is in many of the discussions, the first point is very much on everybody's mind. We all know that because we're trying to use it, spread it, sell it. But the other point is, I see a few countries, the smaller countries in Europe, they are waking up to this. I mean, Malta, the islands, Malta, Cyprus, they are very, very on the forefront of this. Chapeau. These countries have, in my opinion, have understood it. They've embraced the opportunity. They're actively throwing themselves into this, and they will be positioning themselves to be hubs in the future, and they will not regret it. And others might regret not having woken up early enough. So that's on the education side.
Thank you, Harry. Boris, what do you think? It seems that there are two ways of dealing with this, either simplify it for the end user or start teaching them young. What do you think?
Everything this actually reminds me of Henry Ford. When they asked him, why did you build a car? He said, because if I would ask the market what they want, they will told me the faster horse. This is something what is quite similar to this situation here when we are talking about blockchain, about AI, about open data. I remember from my school that we were discussing about how to push the new solutions and products on the market. We didn't discuss a lot about technology because from users' point of view, this maybe it's not even important. We are talking now about technology pushed solutions. Martin before and some other panelists, me as well, said some solutions that blockchain will provide. And those solutions, I believe, are good for the people and good are for the users. And users, it's logical that they will accept it because it gives them some benefit. But we have to ask ourselves if we want to have only the users. We also have the people who will build it. At the beginning, I said that blockchain will open some new business opportunities. And from such a point of view, I believe that we have to start with the education from very, very young people. What blockchain is, what IA is, what open data is, why it's good, why it isn't good, what is the risk of such a technology. And by knowing this, it will be much easier also for users to accept it. Maybe if we go a little bit further by, let's say, by pushing some technology into life, maybe the government could help us. Maybe government can be the first one to start to use it. Martin said one really good case where blockchain can be used. I'm coming from the energy sector. Actually, I was raised by energy sector. And by building such a communities on the not blockchain technology is not, it's not optimizing all benefits that users could have. But by this solution, this is, the benefits are much, much, much higher. As well as they will see that traffic could change, that you will not have to wait on the red light every evening where there is no car for 30 seconds because there's an interval, because nobody is actually listening to you, that you are there alone. Such actions will, let's say, open their mind that maybe this is something good.
Thank you, Boris. Martin, what do you feel about this?
I think the other speakers already described this really well, and maybe I'll just reiterate it. For me, at the moment, just hide the blockchain technology, no need to mention it if there is no need to mention it other than marketing. Right? Then the second thing is long-term, educate, promote, get people talking about it. And the third very important key issue that I think Boris just raised is have key stakeholders promote the technology, have the government, big companies, academia work, promote, spread the knowledge about the technology.
Yeah, thank you. So more things will be needed to get this done, not just one. We have time for one more question. So where within mobility, the development of new technologies and the society of the future are opportunities for different companies? How could the state and the European Union also contribute to this? I'll start with Jean-François.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you very much. I think opportunities are everywhere. I think the panel was extremely rich. I learned about Gadi, the user with the boats and so on. I think, I mean, I could repeat for every speaker, but I think is fantastic, all these opportunities. Now, as I see, the countries and the EU can definitely help. But the reality, as always, it will come from the market. The market has to provide the opportunities, because if it's just financed by the state or the EU, is not going anywhere. If we are here, is we believe, and we really believe, of course, that they are used for this. It is important in one way, because as Harry put it very well, this is decentralized. So it means that it's a kind of a common good kind of thing, because nobody really controls it. Which makes it that maybe big companies have got a bit of difficulty about it, because you lose control about the thing. So you are kind of creating a common good, and every time you create a common good, somehow you may need somebody starting financing it, because if not, it's always the role of the other one to do it. And I note, like a speaker put it very well as well. In this case, talking about Malta, I think, Harry, but we could talk about Estonia, for example, creating a digital residency, virtual digital residency and things like this. We see that smaller countries are better than this. Israel, for example, is very good. Smaller countries are good at this because maybe they have to fight. They have to fight in the big world, and bigger countries find it more difficult, maybe because the different lobbies and let's say fears that can happen, and that block more the technology. I stop here, but I leave it. I will be very interested in knowing the other panelists' opinion.
First of all, Jean-François, I'm happy that you learned something new from me. I learned a lot of all of the excellent speakers. But we talk about blockchain. I would like to focus on AI for this conclusion. And let me share one slide quickly. You see here 5 Israeli startups that if you ask them a couple of years ago if there is something to do with AI and the maritime supply chain, they could not know. So, but they explored, and there is a lot of need for in each of the fields. For example, AI Doc is automating the customs classification. OrcAI is a ship anti-collision system. DocTech for monitoring the ports and riverways. And we are talking about pollution and a better world. Recently, we had pollution in our shores, and we would help us in finding out where was the source. And also Sierra that enables the vision under the water. So what I call here is to all the companies to look not only in one field, because we are talking about blockchain, we're talking about financial. And no, there is a lot to do in a lot of fields, and look for not only under the lens, look everywhere what solution you can give, and about what the EU can do for better innovation and technology. As I said before, standardization and it's a very important issue to deal with.
Thank you very much, Gary. Bruno, how do you think states could help, and what are the opportunities in future?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Actually, me, I see a lot of opportunities in terms of this technology, blockchain technology or artificial technology on the area of mobility. For instance, for developing countries, for this, as Jeff said and Gabi, for this developing countries, there are a lot of opportunities. For example, here in Tanzania, the president of a country, she has already given direction that stakeholders and other ministerial level, they have to look on how the country can also adapt these technologies in different areas. And from my side, I see a lot of opportunity. For example, I'm coming from the transportation sector, though I'm also working on other sector. But I see there is a lot of opportunities because still most of the things are being done informally. So adopting these technologies, especially on transportation or movement of cargo or on public transport, could really help transform the sector, but also could help to improve our countries. And but also the other area I think is in area of financing. Maybe that could be a challenge, but I'm sure if the government itself, they have interest of all these kind of technologies, that means it could be easier for even other stakeholders like those inventors and innovators to do the implementation on different areas. And what I think, what maybe the European could do, for instance, in our countries, there is a lot of opportunities. Okay, there is an ongoing project. We think very soon it will be doing here in Tanzania with the Slovenia government, which is under NENA. We are going to test the blockchain. We are going to test infrastructures using blockchain technologies. Well, I think through that, we'll see a lot of opportunities coming up. And what maybe I'll advise on concluding, us as B&F Global, we are open to collaborate or to partner with different companies from Europe, from Slovenia and other countries who will be interested to learn and to see where are the opportunities in our country. So all in all, I think still there is a lot of opportunities which we can tap in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Harry, what's your take on this?
Yes, it goes a little bit toward what I said earlier about the smaller countries, and yes, I have to add Estonia to that. That what I would hope for from the living in the EU, from the EU is that those countries that are courageous enough to embrace this kind of innovation and actively go ahead in lightly regulating it and encouraging it, that they should be allowed to do so. They should also be actively encouraged so that innovation budgets, of which the EU has quite a lot, should also be actively channeled exactly into those countries that are attempting something new, which other countries out of regulatory conservatism would rather not address. But then in order to basically be able to use the diversity of the different approaches, see what that more forward-looking, that more risk-friendly approach takes, and also allow greenfield projects in the field of mobility and energy, which are extremely tightly regulated businesses. And the moment you start applying all of the regulation that the registered business, especially in the energy sector, need to comply with before they can do business, then obviously any new technology such as blockchain can not possibly qualify because it's simply too young to have passed through all of that. So you got a very bad and severe case of lockout and chicken egg problem, which actively protects what is there and actively blocks what is being developed. And my hope would be that this is understood and that the need for greenfield and that the need to encourage those that are willing to take the risk should be seen, and that should be encouraged. And all I can say is, in the political framework that I see, it will be the small countries that will be doing that, but they are doing it voluntarily. So let's at least encourage them. Let's fund them. Let's budget them. Let's help actively countries that say, we have a niche here. We want to push ourselves ahead. Estonia with their identity and their residents, Malta with some of the regulation that they have chosen, Cyprus in a similar approach. So let's assist these countries. It might not be the approach that Germany is doing, yes, but exactly because of that, it should be encouraged, because Germany is already doing what Germany is doing. Let's see how the other part works, because the EU should not be a homogeneous, just one fit all, but it should be, the diversity of the different approaches that enrich our community and that also enrich our technological life. That would be my slightly idealistic hope towards those that decide on the political level.
I love it. Thank you. Boris, your take on this?
Where are the opportunities for the companies? Actually, this is the $1 million question, even more. Where all are they there? But on the one hand, I will start with Slovenia. Although we could have a million good ideas, what we believe that is good for the people, and actually this, let's say we are in the prison of some restrictive law that doesn't allow us to do some innovative projects, especially on mobility, especially on the traffic, because here this is probably the most regulated field because of the safety. And when we are discussing about mobility, we really cannot forget for safety. So when I met Nena first time, maybe it's not nice that I'm talking that, but we were in such an event, and after the event I came to her and I said, I have our company, I have some good ideas, but we have the law that doesn't allow us to do that. And there are the countries in Europe that this is allowed, but they went through this process. I remember I was studying in Belgium, and we were discussing about one situation that Netherlands had in the 90s. They finished the whole law about the innovative projects by the 2005, let's say. So 15 years. So the company, the government who doesn't thinking about that something will change, that the world is changing, and they didn't start with that, with this procedure that innovative projects have to be supported, have to be sponsored, have to do, let's say, some breakthrough, and maybe turn around some places on head. Then the change and also the opportunity for the new companies, for the new solutions, for the people, it will be a little bit difficult. Or at least they will go there where their ideas are welcomed. On the other hand, in Europe, we are having the situation in Europe where not all countries are having the same stage of development. Also, every country, every city, every village has the different problems. And every city and every village and every country has their priorities. So we have to think about that by, I think so, by this as a puzzle. Every puzzle has some different solution that has to be implemented. And also this solution has to be supported by the law. Or at least it isn't. The government has to be, let's say, a little bit smarter and not to do the problems for it. We have this case in Ljubljana, as far as I know. We have Slovenska cesta, which is a mixed zone between pedestrians, bus, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this is still pilot project. It's 5 years already pilot project. We will have a pilot project in Maribor, where my head is on the fire if everything will go wrong, because we will interfere with the crossings with semaphores. We will try to do city much more better for the people who live there and also for the tourists who go there. And this is something that has to change. And I believe if this will change, and or at least if some activities will go in such a direction that if you have some idea that you could simulate that this will be better for the, I don't know who, for the people, for the pedestrian, for the government, for regulators, so on, that they will give you the window to try this and try to implement this everywhere. So, from my side.
Thank you. So good things won't happen themselves. They need a little push or many little pushes. Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, I also agree with the other speakers. I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially in deregulation or regulation in a smart way, and simplification of bureaucracy. So for example, if you buy an asset which is digitalized, you buy a digital asset, do you still need to sign a contract? If you make energy transactions and you exchange that for some token, is this money, all right? I believe right now a lot of blockchain solutions work on sort of two-layer protocol, where on one hand you're working with a blockchain, you're working with digitalized assets, all right? But at the same time, we're also working in the physical world and we're signing contract. We have our shares on a piece of paper, right? And at the same time, we have this on a digitalized version, right? So I feel like there needs to be a joining of these two worlds, a merger of these two worlds. And I think this is the way to go. We are progressing in that direction. I just think we should do it.
Thank you very much. We spent all our time, so we're going to wrap this up. I would like to thank all the panelists. You've been great. You gave us a lot of food for thought. I would like to thank everyone for watching, and organizers, tech crew, and let's build a better future together.